la 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 la. Hi everyone, Teeth the Knee Teeth Tano here, the best teeth in the game and the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for another edition of Let's Argue, where I go on the internet, I accept your hot takes, your unpopular opinions, and your tough questions, and I respond to the best ones, literally right now in this video. Let's go. Thank You Next isn't a personal album, it's overwhelmingly self-centered. Personally, I don't really get how tracks like Needy and Fake Smile and Thank You Next are more self-centered than they are personal or introspective. Where exactly is the line between personal and self-centered? I mean, to me, a self-centered person on this album would build themselves up as being like really great and fantastic and amazing in every way, whereas Ariana Grande actually comes off very flawed on this record and kind of like a mess of a person. Kind of like she's not really holding it together at all, and that's what many songwriters have written albums about over the years. Honestly, I think the most self-centered track on the entire record is probably Break Up With Your Girlfriend, I'm Bored, but that song is obviously pretty self-aware. So, I don't know. I'm not saying Thank You Next is like the most amazing album I've ever heard, but there is some emotional depth to it, and I feel like because it's a pop record and because it's Ariana Grande, you're just really to dismiss that. Experimental is not a genre. Experimental music is already very well established as an art form, as a mode of expression, as a label for a music genre or a concept for a style of music. At least it, in a way, describes what's actually going on in the music. Some genre labels don't even do that. So, I don't know, man. I feel like as far as the sensibility or the accuracy of a name for a genre, you could certainly do worse than experimental, or experimental rock, or experimental jazz. I can four-stock Fantano's Pacman. Look, if you played Smash Ultimate or Smash 4 for real, then you know you don't need 4 stocks, you only need 3, and you think 4 because you play the game like a baby. You probably leave Pokeballs on and everything. Give us your scalp care routine. First, I start off every morning by listening to 3 Death Grip songs assigned to me by the shuffle feature on whatever music program I'm listening to the songs through, and of course these songs are chosen through the group's entire discography. Then after that, it's a 30-minute head rub from one person who is assigned to a particular day, one day every week. It's a constant rotation of James Blake, Robin Pecknold, Slater, Little B, Post Malone, Father John Misty, and Princess Vitara. Then after that, for at least an hour, I just blast the top of my head with like, you know, like a UV light, just direct UV rays onto my scalp. I then give it a once over with a Clorox bleach wipe, which eliminates 99.9% of all germs. Give it a quick blow dry, and that's essentially my scalp care routine. Takeoff is the best Migo. Well, Takeoff was not the one that was on Without Warning. That was Offset. So in my opinion, that is the best Migo. But he cheated on Cardi, so it's actually Quavo, because he has the most recognizable voice. Kid Cudi is more harmful to Kids See Ghosts than he is beneficial. His vocals and lyrics don't fit at all compared to Kanye's genius wordplay and rhyming. Look, I mean, the song Reborn completely invalidates anything that you just said there. Life is meaningless. I mean, of course the meaning of life for most sentient beings out there, and even non-sentient, is just to survive. However, many of us in the first world have been blessed with the privilege to live in a place where we're not worrying necessarily every waking moment about whether or not like we're gonna be alive in the next 24 hours or where our next meal is coming from. So unfortunately, this gives a lot of people a void because they don't have to worry about surviving, so now they're just sitting there like, what is the point of life? What is the point? What's the point of it? Well, I mean, life is really kind of what you make it. The meaning of it is what you mean it to be, I guess. You know, it's really whatever you get out of it. Life is literally a fucking choose your own adventure. Okay? Option on some game that you're playing, and you're just literally choosing your own adventure. So there you go. It's like Minecraft, but you can do way more stuff than mine and craft. The more units sold, the better the music. I only listen to gold/platinum selling artists. Your music is whack. if it ain't got a plaque. Most likely a troll opinion, but I'll bite anyway. If everybody thought this way, then literally no artist ever would get popular, because according to you, an artist would have to have sold platinum records in order to be worth your time in the first place. And if nobody takes that chance and listens to a more obscure artist, or just listens to something not because it has a plaque, but because they like it, then how is anything ever going to go gold, or go platinum, or gain any popularity whatsoever? Because all popular artists are struggling and just starting out at some point, and even platinum selling artists, when they put out a new record, the sales start at 0. Unless you're Jay-Z and you can get a multinational corporation to buy 1 million copies of your record right out of the gate. That's the only major exception. Albums/songs with all caps or lowercase only titles are overdone and therefore lost any meaning they used to maybe have. Yeah, I think the all caps thing is kind of sickening at this point. However, I still do think the lowercase thing does have a bit of gas in the tank, because I still think there is something to be said for, I guess, understating some things. You're being too critical of the premise of Yesterday. It's just trying to be a fun movie, chill out melon. Look, I'm sure Yesterday is going to be a kind of fun film, and really the point at the end of the day is to have this protagonist who seems like a pretty talented guy, just kind of, you know, riff on these Beatles songs throughout the movie and just kind of recontextualize these tracks that everybody has loved over the years. That's really what the movie's truly going to be about. It'll do that element of the storyline pretty well, and as a result, people, most of them, will walk away from the movie relatively pleased. But as a story and as a premise from the outset, it just seems kind of half-assed. Because, I don't know, I think you could potentially make a really cool movie about what would happen if the Beatles never existed, but what you would have to do if you were going to make a legitimately intriguing film about that is try to reimagine the whole landscape of popular culture and uproot everything the Beatles have influenced over the years. That takes a lot of imagination, and that's really tough. Look, it's going to be a fun movie, but I can critique the goddamn premise, okay? Modern rap relies too much on punchlines and puns rather than lyrics about deep and meaningful subjects. The lyrics of something don't need to be deep and meaningful, okay? I mean, that's the exact reason that John Lennon wrote songs that had silly, absurd, dumb, pointless lyrics in them, because he thought that over the years, too many critics and hardcore fans were analyzing what he was saying in the songs that he was writing far too much. And that's what he and many other songwriters have engaged in over the years, trying to subvert this expectation that the song or the lyrics have to have a certain kind of meaning or story that's super clear. So don't put this ridiculously arbitrary expectation on rap music to be deeper than it currently is, or as deep as what you think every other genre is, I guess. After Mass Seduction, St. Vincent fans have begun to sound like Lana Del Rey fans. I don't see what you are meaning with the words that you are typing. Like, how do Lana Del Rey fans sound? And what characteristics about them do you find similar to St. Vincent fans? I don't get it. I don't know. Foo Fighters' success is 40% Dave Grohl's charisma, 50% Dave Grohl's Nirvana goodwill, and 10% good music. I don't know, man. Those first several Foo Fighters records are pretty solid alternative rock albums. Are we, like, supposed to expect artists that start in one band, as soon as that band crumbles or something awful happens that stops that band from existing, they just have to, like, you know, fall into obscurity because it would be wrong of them to continue their success into another group or something? Tidal hurt Jay-Z's legacy. I mean, Tidal's probably not the best business move that Jay-Z's ever come out with, yes. And there have been some pretty shady news stories surrounding the streaming service that have come out over the past few years or so. However, I don't know, Tidal is still around. I mean, it's seems like it's staying afloat, and I feel like ultimately more competition in the music streaming market is better than less. At least Tidal is providing a little bit of an alternative to the usual Apple Music, Spotify run of things. As a music streaming platform, it seems to function pretty decently. By music streaming standards, it pays the artists on the platform more than any other out there does, from my understanding currently. I just think the rollout could have been a lot better, and I think Jay-Z thought that the celebrity power of all of the main brains seconds of title were going to be a bigger selling point than it actually was. How do you invite chaos in this way without experiencing intense anxiety? I don't know, I'm not exactly one to shy away from a back and forth, even with somebody whose brain is essentially a brick wall and is completely unwilling to listen to another perspective or point of view. Because ultimately, I think stirring the pot and getting ideas out there and starting conversations is important. Of course, there are always going to be people out there who say negative stuff and attack you and poke at sore spots. But if you're doing what you do well, it most likely is speaking to somebody. And the people that care about it the most, many of them, honestly, are just reacting to what you're doing very pleasantly and very quietly. And, you know, they're having an introspective moment with it. And, you know, they're just kind of silently showing their support for what you do. And if people really care about what you do, of course, there's going to be very vocal individuals out there who stand for you and so on and so forth. And, you know, you can't forget about them or let the negativity of some individuals blind you from the positivity that some people throw at you. And I think I am going to leave it at that. You guys are the best. This has been another episode of Let's Argue. Over here next to my head is another one that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, argue, argue, argue forever.